Hi friends, and welcome to another edition of New Start Now. In our studio with me is Dan Powell from Yuma, Arizona. And Dan came to us with a series of problems. And what I'd like to do is go to the clip when he first arrived.
I've been a diabetic now since 1981. And my diabetes has gotten worse and worse and worse. And I'm taking way too much insulin. And I needed something to help me to get off of this insulin, because it's a bad thing. I hate doing insulin. So that's one of the main reasons I came here. A lot of my friends at the church have been telling me to come here, my church, and here I am. I have neuropathy, and I have high blood pressure, and the neuropathy is going all the way up to the back of my knee, and it's getting unbearable, and I just can't do it anymore. So that's why I'm coming to Weimar. Absolutely, I am trying to get rid of the insulin and to reverse my neuropathy and to get my blood pressure down without having to take any pills.
Welcome back, friends, and in our studio. Dan, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm wonderful, thank you.
You know, I remember a whole lot more that we talked about.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'd like to just address a couple of those right now. You were on morphine?
I was taking a 12-hour time-release morphine for the pain in my hands and in my legs.
So the neuropathy got so bad.
So bad.
Now, some of our viewers can relate to this.
Oh, absolutely.
We have many people out there with diabetes, high blood pressure, neuropathy from the diabetes, and they're on these painkillers. But why morphine?
Well, my doctor told me that in the long term, that was the only thing I could do.
Okay.
And so I've been doing it, and I don't like it. I don't like doing it, but now, guess what?
What?
I'm not doing it anymore.
All right. I knew you were going to say that.
I'm off of it. I'm in my insulin. I was taking 300 units a day. Now I'm down to about 90 units a day.
And let me just address the audience for a moment. We don't do an interview before this showing. This is live and recording one shot, so you're seeing the real deal. Back to when you first came here, you seemed so relaxed then, and so like there wasn't anything really going on.
Well, that's my nature.
That's your nature?
That's my nature.
Okay.
I felt like I've really done not only me good, but I felt like I've done all the other guests. I've been very positive with them. And when I was going through the morphine withdrawals, I did my best to help those ladies out. We had 13 ladies and only 3 guys.
Wow.
And well, since then, like I say, I've dropped my insulin down. I lost 20 pounds.
20 pounds?
20 pounds in 18 days.
I can tell.
I feel so much better. I just praise the Lord. He's blessed me way more than I can imagine.
Amen.
Amen.
And your legs and your hands. What about the neuropathy?
You know what? When I first came here, I could barely walk the trails. I mean, I had a really rough time. My legs were tight, and I'm really hurting. Now, I'm walking up to 5 miles a day.
Wow.
Going up the hills. I've been up Misery Hill. I've been all through the Flume.
What's Misery Hill?
That's the big hill.
That's the big hill?
That's the big hill.
They call that Misery Hill. They used to call it Cardiac Hill.
Yeah, Cardiac Hill,
but
too.
now they changed it?
We call it Misery Hill.
Misery Hill. One or the other. You got up there.
I got up there.
As well as a lot of our heart patients who've come here for restoration of their heart and their cardiovascular disease. They're all walking up that hill.
I tell you, I leave to go home tomorrow, and I'm going home with a whole new attitude and a whole new life. I thought before I came here that my life was over. I really thought that. And now, look, I could tell my face, my stomach is going. I got about 20 more pounds to go.
Yes.
And then hopefully I'm going to get off insulin for good.
Good.
But this new start has just done me wonderful.
Well, what's going on here, Dan? You know, I am an alumni as well.
Sure.
And I have my own point of view, but I want you to tell our viewers what you think is happening here. What's going on? Is it the food?
It's the food, it's the treatments, it's the lectures, it's the atmosphere, everything, all in one. I love the hydro treatments, and I'm a stainless steel welder, fabricator, and I'm going to fabricate me some basins that I can do the hot water, cold water treatment, because that hot water, cold water treatment is excellent.
That's awesome
That's
stuff.
done my legs so much good. It's unbelievable.
Now, Dan, when I was here, I could feel the presence of the Lord so deeply in my heart. I didn't know it at the time. I was not a Christian then.
Oh, really?
I was not a Christian. And because of the New Start program and because of the many people here, I was baptized 3 months later.
Oh, wonderful. Praise the Lord.
Tell me, did you have an experience like I did?
Well, I was born and raised a Seventh-day Adventist. Went through Auburn Academy. I got away from the church after I went into the service, and I did my own thing, and I was selfish, and 3 years ago, I was rebaptized into the church. Yeah, Gila Mountain Seventh-day Adventist Church. My pastor, Mel Phillips, he has been an inspiration to me, and he really cares about me, and he's the one that's got me to go here. And I just praise the Lord for my church family. They're behind me, and they support me, and I love them all.
Now, what about the staff here?
The staff here is wonderful. Every one of them, all through the chaplain, Jerry in massage and water treatment, Richard in the exercise. I just name them all. Dr. Ing has been my biggest inspiration.
He's been your mentor.
Absolutely. He has done me so well. Him and I are in contact all day long.
Yes.
And I'm taking my blood sugars, and I finally have got my blood sugars down to where I'm in the hundreds, because I was floating up in the 200s, 300s.
Is Dr. Ing your doctor?
Dr. Ing is my doctor.
Okay. We're going to be talking with him in a little bit.
Oh, he's a wonderful doctor.
Yeah.
All the doctors, Dr. LaRose and Dr. Lucas,
yeah.
They're just wonderful.
So did you think it unusual that you have access to your doctor all day long?
Yeah, because I'm in the veterans medical, and I'm just a number. And when I go to see my doctor, he doesn't even really know who I am. He just goes on the computer and looks, see where my blood's at, blah, blah, blah. And I will remain with veterans, but I'm going in with a different attitude, and I'm going to tell him what I need. What I've learned here is unbelievable.
What about your family? When you go home, you're on fire, I can tell.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're absolutely going to stay with this. What about the family? How are they going to deal with it?
Well, my father, he's a winter visitor down in Yuma. He lives up in Montana in the summer and comes to Yuma in the winter. And my dad's very healthy. He's 80 years old, and he's in better shape than I am. And he's borderline diabetic. And he and my stepmom, I'm trying to get them to, I've been talking to them on the phone, and I want them to go vegetarian. I'm completely vegetarian now, vegan.
Good.
I'm off the meat, I'm off the milk, and I just love cheese. I loved yogurts, milk. I could drink a gallon of milk a day.
Ooh.
Easy.
Oh, yeah.
So, now my life has turned.
Now, have you stopped any medication while you've been here?
I've stopped all my medications, except I'm taking a little bit of Lennoxpril.
What is the all consist
of? I was taking Genfibrozol. I was taking gabapentin. I was taking 3-4 other things to help my triglycerides, and I'm off everything but the Lennoxpril. That's the only thing I'm on, and then that helps. The doctor tells me that's good because it helps my organs, my kidneys.
That's awesome.
I'm just completely elated.
Dan, I want to thank you. We're running out of time, but thank you for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure.
God bless you.
You too. Thank you.
And friends, don't go away, because Dr. Ing is going to be with us right after this message.
Well, you've done very well. you have diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, or do you weigh too much? Hi, my name is Dr. Ring, and I'd like to tell you about our 18-day New Start Lifestyle program. It includes a comprehensive medical evaluation with laboratory studies and an exercise stress test, physician consultations, culinary school, and an opportunity to walk on beautiful trails in the foothills of the Sierras. Your health is one of the most important things that you have. Don't wait. Give us a call at 800-525-9192 or visit our website, newstart.com.
Well, welcome back, friends. And in our studio is Dr. Clarence Ng. How are you, Doc?
It's great to be here, Ron.
Before we start, I just want to remind our guests, for those who have never met you, you are the medical director here at the New Start program. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, we got that straight. Now we're going to talk about Dan.
Yes.
And Dan is, you know, he's just seemed to be a different guy this second interview. He's like on top of the, is he really doing that great? Tell us about that.
He's feeling so much better than when he came. You know, medicines he's off of, and his blood sugar's under much better control. He probably mentioned how much insulin he was on. He was taking 100 units of insulin 3 times a day, 70-30, which is a mixture of regular insulin and NPH insulin with every meal. And his blood sugars were far less than we would want. Now, this way too high. It was way out of control.
Mm-hmm.
So he was willing to fast, go without eating for 3 days to get started. And during this time, we monitored his blood sugars to make sure they didn't go too high. And very interesting, even without eating any food, his blood sugars were still high, not so high that we had to give him some medication. And then he resumed eating, and then we had to give him a little bit of insulin. But now he's on around 100 units a day, which is knocked off 200 units a day. He's better. He also, initially when he came, he was uncomfortable because his hands were numb and tingling and they hurt. And also his feet, his legs and his feet were totally, he had no feeling down there. They were just numb.
He was on morphine, I understand.
Yeah, and he was on morphine because of the pain in his hands.
Oh, wow.
And after he'd been here a week, he said, you know what, I want to stop that. I said, fine, if you want to stop that, we'll be happy to work with you. And he had a tough few days, but he said he's done it before, and he said, I want to get off of some of these medicines.
Is this something that we've done continuously here at the New Start program, assist people getting off of medications?
We've had people who want to get off medications, and if they're willing to do that, we are willing to work with them. So he's done very, very well. So he's stopped that medication. He's lost almost 20 pounds. And one of the fascinating things about his blood work was his triglycerides were really very high. I'm not sure if he told you the number, but I think it was 876, which is quite high. And it's still high now.
Wow.
But it came down to, what, 461, which is 415 points lower than they were. And that's even with stopping one of the medicines that he was taking to help to lower his triglycerides. So his diet and his lifestyle have made a big impact. And now he says where his feet didn't hurt him before, now they're starting to hurt, which means he's getting feeling back in his feet. And the pain or the feeling he has, it's not that painful. So he's getting feeling back in his feet.
So it's a welcome pain, I should say.
Yeah, in other words, it's uncomfortable, but something he can tolerate. And he says, now I have feeling in my feet. And his blood sugars likewise, as we've worked with him to manage his insulin and with his eating, because he's primarily eating just 2 meals a day. His blood sugars are now within a normal range with the medication. So he's using a short-acting insulin and a long-acting insulin. He's doing very, very well.
Now, when he leaves here, will you be doing, or will he be doing follow-up as in calling you and asking for advice, or will you be working with his doctor? How does that all play out?
Well, I certainly hope he'll contact me, because on my final instructions to him, I told him what I wanted him to do, and whole plant foods eaten whole, take some B12 every day, walk at least 3 to 4 miles a day, and I gave him a goal for like losing his weight. Lose about 5 pounds a month to get down to the weight that we talked about. He and May, and that's my wife who's the dietitian, and we decided on an appropriate, the three of us together decided on a weight goal for him, and working at about 5 pounds a month, he should be able to get there. And he's also to report to me, since he has email, at least once a month, what his progress is, how his blood sugars are going, and he knows how to contact me, because he has my home telephone number. Actually, he has my cell phone number, because that's how I've been tracking him and following him here. When he takes his blood sugar, he reports to me and says, well, what should we do? So now he's got a handle on it. He knows what he needs to do.
And so then it's not unusual for a doctor here at the New Start program to follow up on guests once they leave.
Oh, that's right. If the guest wants to have someone to talk to, all of my patients get my home telephone number.
That's awesome.
And they can call me any time of the day or night.
I know that to be true, because when I first met you 7 or 8 years ago, it was on the phone, and you returned a phone call for me, and it was about 10 o'clock at night that we talked.
And sometimes I don't get to make my phone calls to them, because that's when I get home.
So do you think that Dan is, we've done this program now for about a year, Doctor, and we've seen all these wonderful changes that people are going through. Is it typical in your experience? It seems to be in mine now, that whoever comes here gets healed.
Well, they certainly get much better, especially those with diabetes. The numbers that we use as far as people with type 2 diabetes, of which Dan was an example. I had another individual, and this other individual had had diabetes for 3 years, and she came in on her medication, and she stopped her medication. Now it was an oral medicine, and her blood sugars are normal without any medication. So 4 out of 10, or 40%, of those with type 2 diabetes, usually we find that their blood sugars will be normal without having to use medication. And of those who still have to use medication, like Dan is an example in that group, much better control with far less medication. And he's proof of that as well. He's also proof of the thing that we've discovered, is that with the New Start approach to diabetes, people with diabetic neuropathy, which is what he had, with the burning, numbness, tingling, and so on, get significant and dramatic improvement. So it's been very worthwhile for him to go through the program. He's very pleased and happy with what he's been through and what he's accomplished and how he's feeling right now.
So for our viewers now, there seems to be a lifestyle that we teach here. Some people can't get here for whatever those reasons are. Is there something that you can tell our friends and our viewing audience all over the world here what they could possibly do to help change their lives?
Well, I think one of the really important things in helping to improve your health is the food that you eat. And we've discovered through experience and also by reading the medical literature that the best diet is the original diet which is given to man in Genesis 1:29, and that ends up being plant foods. So the guidelines we use for food is whole plant foods eaten whole.
So can you break that down a little bit? Whole plant foods eaten whole. That means we should be eating a plant-based diet,
right,
in their original form as they come out of the garden.
Well, I mean, sometimes you've got to, like your wheat, you can't, you've got to remove, to process the wheat a little bit, and you eat brown rice rather than white rice. You eat whole wheat rather than the white enriched flour, whole wheat flour, and so on. you know, if it has a mother or a face, you don't want to eat it. And another thing to remember, your stomach is not a graveyard for dead animals. So those are two important points. If you combine that with whole plant food, you should do quite well.
So if it has a mother or a face, don't eat it.
That's right.
And whole plant foods eaten whole.
Right.
That means any kind of, when you go into the market and go into the produce section, you can eat anything in the produce section pretty much.
Yeah, you know, all your vegetables and things, of course. And then your whole grain cereals.
Yes.
You know, white rice is not what you want to eat. Brown rice. You want, instead of white flour, even enriched white flour, you want to eat whole wheat flour.
Yes. Well, Dr. Ng, I want to thank you because I know you're a busy guy running this program here, and I just want to thank you for coming on the set. God bless you and your work.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Ron.
And friends, I want to thank you, but don't go away. We have an important message for you right now.
Hello and welcome to New Start at Home. We're glad you've joined us today, and we're also glad that Dr. Doug Plata is with us. He is an urgent care specialist and trained in family medicine and preventive medicine, which means you're just very practical.
Thank you. I hope so.
And you probably see a lot of people that are just kind of anxious about things, and there's nothing that causes more anxiousness than maybe a foreign body in the eye or in the nose. We're going to talk about foreign bodies in the nose and the ears.
Right. Very interesting. Some of the most interesting cases I've seen. I'm sure you've seen them too.
So, you know, you always hear the stories about a kid putting maybe a bean in his nose or whatever. What are the things you see?
Raisins, peanuts. I don't know why kids just do it. What can you do? It's gonna happen.
And then who is more troubled about it? Is the child or is the mother or the parent?
By far and away, it's the parent who comes in. Yeah, very distraught.
Yeah. So probably at first you're kind of like a psychologist saying it's going to be okay.
Exactly.
And you kind of do, you know, a little soothing. But let's get to that. What should we start with, the nose or the ears?
Honestly, I consider them about the same.
So let's start with the nose.
Okay, very well. You know, again, the most common things that I see are little children who don't know any better, and the parents will oftentimes say that they watch them, the kids just grab it and they just stick it in the nose. It's just something that they enjoy doing, I guess. And again, you know, most commonly raisins, kids just love to do that, peanuts, these sorts of things.
So what do? They come in and I mean, they try blowing the nose. What do?
Right, right. You know, oftentimes the mother's in a panic, and you know, so she may have tried to get it out, she may not have, but regardless, in most cases it's fairly straightforward. You know, we just have some forceps that we can go ahead and reach in and get it. It depends on how far back the kid has pushed, you know, the foreign body, the object. We use different techniques. Sometimes sort of putting something past, getting behind it, and then pulling it out like that.
So, is there anything they can do at home before they come to see you? What should they try before they get there?
You know, what I find is oftentimes it's not too far in, and so they can go ahead and sort of just push it out. That oftentimes work. Now, I would not recommend this next thing, but for them to do at home, because it's very dangerous. But sometimes we just take a Q-tip and put some, you know, super glue on there, and we actually attach it on and then pull it out like that. But I definitely would not recommend. That's just asking for trouble if it's not being done by a professional.
That's true, because you end up with a Q-tip glued inside your nose,
I know,
which would probably not be good.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so anything else about the nose before we move to the ear?
Let's move on to the ear, because there is something that I've seen that's common in the ear, and that is where people are sleeping, and it seems though they must be in a really deep sleep, because while they're sleeping, an insect actually crawls in the ear.
This is a common thing, like a cockroach or like a
yeah.
And so, of course, depending if it's a black widow spider, you're in deep trouble. But
fortunately, I haven't seen that yet.
Right. So what do you do in that particular case? What can they do at home? Anything?
Well, quite honestly, I find that people don't stay at home very long. Usually they are on the road and they're flying, because it's got to be one of the most disturbing things to have an insect crawling around in your ear. And oftentimes there's not, I mean, you try to get it out and the insect tries to stay in. It's trying to stay away from you. So it's very difficult to get out.
So if you shine a light, it freaks out.
Well, actually, sometimes they'll actually say, "Oh, that's the way out," and so they actually follow it. So yeah,
You can try that. If that doesn't
Wouldn't
work. But usually, if it's not working, they come to you. What do you do then when they get there?
what I like to do is, first of all, I like to kill the poor insect because it's just going to be a lot easier if it's not struggling to get out. So we can use alcohol and sort of kill it that way, or spray it, and then we...
It's rubbing alcohol?
Yeah.
So they could do that at home?
That's really true. They could do that at home.
Okay.
And it should be perfectly safe. And then we go in with sort of a needle nose, little clamps, and reach in and grab it, and sometimes it comes out in parts.
Okay.
It's the reality, yeah. But
But I mean, you might be able to do one other technique I've seen is use a little syringe and just like wash it out.
sort of, yeah, that can work as well.
Could they try that at home?
If they have that, if they've got a syringe.
Like maybe a bulb syringe or something.
Yeah,
Just use
yeah.
something. We've been talking to Dr. Doug Plata. We're talking about foreign bodies in the ears. Very practical information for those of you. Now, I think there's all kinds of information like this, and you can access it here on our website at newstartclub.com. That's newstartclub.com. Thank you, Dr. Plata. This is very practical. Might seem like a small thing to you, but a small thing in the ear is a big thing, isn't it?
That's right.
So we're glad that you've joined us here at New Start at Home, and thank you also again for being with us.
Modern views of evolution stem all the way back to theories developed in the mid-1800s. Out of the same time period came ideas that shape our educational system today. The Common School movement, for example, saw schools more like a factory with students blindly memorizing instruction rather than thinking for themselves. Their curriculum was rigid and theoretical. Instead of being flexible and practical, it was designed to conform the individual into a specific ideological mold that fit the needs of an old industrial era long since past. Just like our view of creation in 6 literal days, we believe the Bible contains an educational blueprint radically different from the one we see now.
Well, folks, that's it for today. Thank you for joining us. In the meantime, pick up the phone and give us a call at 800-525-9192. God bless you. Have a great day.